This dumpster fire we call planet Earth is being lied to about UAPs and extraterrestrial beings. Governments around the world have already said they've retrieved non-human craft. Not to mention, the United States even admitted they have non-human biologics. And now you have this whole gaggle of New Age channelers and psychics who claim that they are in contact with beings that represent a federation of planets. I mean, it sounds like something right out of Star Trek or something.
No such thing as the unknown. Only things temporarily hidden, temporarily not understood. In most cases, we have found that intelligence, capable of a civilization, is capable of understanding peaceful gestures. Surely a life form advanced enough for space travel is advanced enough to eventually understand our motives.
What's interesting is even a senior top Israeli Space Administration official says that there is a federation of planets with extraterrestrials and that they have actually been speaking to the United States government, and President Trump himself knows all about this. But what if I were to tell you that these so-called space brothers or ETs are really not coming here to save our planet and make life better for us, but to break out of God's prison? Welcome back to Daniel 9 Studios, where we attempt to unravel all of these end-time mysteries that seem to be part of our headlines today. So today I will be launching a 3-part series on the cosmic deception that seems to be enveloping the entire planet these days. But in order to do that, we're going to have to go over 3 key concepts. We're going to look at the book of Job, chapter 38. We'll be looking at Genesis 6. And of course, we will be looking at the book of Enoch. We're also going to be looking at a couple of the occult figures that are still prominent today when it comes to extraterrestrials, or some would call them ascended beings. We'll be ringing up and talking about Helen Blavatsky and also, of course, Aleister Crowley, and I'm sure a lot of you already know who that dude is. We're also going to be talking about the recent whistleblowers that have come before congressional hearings to testify that these craft that the governments have retrieved have been used for back engineering for weapons. And all 3 of these roads may lead to one conclusion: that these so-called extraterrestrial beings or ascended masters are not claiming who they are. And all 3 of these roads lead to a possible conclusion: that these so-called ascended beings or extraterrestrials are really not here to make life better for the planet Earth. But what they're really doing is trying to break out of God's prisons and come back to Earth and take it for themselves. And all 3 of these points may lead to one conclusion: that these beings who are supposedly part of some federation of planets are not who they say they are. It's nothing more than a league of convicted rebels who are trying to escape God's prison and take back Earth for themselves. Up on your screen, you'll see Job chapter 38, verses 31 through 33. And it says, and this is God talking to Job himself, Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the cords of Orion? Can you lead forth a constellation in its season and guide the bear with her satellites? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens or fix their rule over the earth? So when Job talks about the chains of the Pleiades or the cords of Orion, the word is called Ma-Madanoth. Okay, and forgive me if I desecrated that word because I'm not a Hebrew scholar. But as far as definitions go, it may mean sweet influences, but there is also another definition for it. It also refers to as chains that imprison. Again, these are not space brothers. They are fallen angels, or Elohim. So let's take a quick peek at the book of Enoch. Enoch is actually quoted in the book of Jude, chapter 6. And Enoch describes 7 stars who were bound. And they were there for one crime and one crime only, and that is corrupting humanity. 7 burning stars, or 7 sisters, and the universal name is, of course, Pleiades. So is this all just a coincidence, or is there something more? Maybe even perhaps a cosmic supernatural lockdown. So we're going to fast forward to the 19th century. A Russian mystic named Helena Blavatsky, who founded the Theosophical Society, claimed that she was in contact with so-called ascended masters or beings or whatever you want to call them from the Pleiades and the Sirius constellation, and that these beings have come back to Earth to bring us into a new era of ascension. And she did also speak about a coming world leader that will bring us into this new era of peace, prosperity, and of course, a DNA upgrade. And then, of course, you have Aleister Crowley back in 1918. He was another mystic who also claimed that he was in contact with some of these ascended beings. Okay? And one of those beings, who he named Lamb, actually looks like a modern-day gray alien. Is there a coincidence? Maybe. And now, back in 1997, you have one of the biggest New Age influencers this world has ever seen. Her name's Barbara Messiniak. So in her book, she claims that she has talked to some of these extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades, and that these Pleiadians are here as renegades and system busters, whatever that means. And not to mention, Messiniak also claims that there is a galactic federation of planets, or other known as the Galactic Federation of Light. So before I move on any further, I wanted to talk to you about a writer that I have followed for years, and his name is Tim Alberino. He is a researcher, writer. He has his own podcast, and he's absolutely one of the best. I don't know him personally, but I would highly recommend reading his books or his materials. And Tim Alberino makes a really, really good point. And one of his points is that these so-called extraterrestrial beings, or again, fallen angels, absolutely need our consent for them to smash out of their chains and return to Earth. And he makes the same point as we talked about earlier, is that these extra-dimensional beings are coming here to upgrade our DNA. But really what they're doing is infecting it, like a virus. He also points out that Adam was given the deed to the earth. He was given dominion over the entire planet. So as we go on, I want you to keep that in mind. And again, I really highly recommend Timothy Alberino because he is spot on. So I think one of the biggest questions that Tim Alberino asks is, did these beings have dominion over this very planet even before Adam and Eve was here? I'm thinking yes. But that's the subject of another story, and we will be getting to that sooner or later. So I want to fast forward to 2020, and a former Israeli Space Administration senior official named Haid Eshed claimed that there is a federation of planets and that there are bases on Mars where not only the American government but other governments are meeting with these so-called beings. And again, they're part of a federation of planets. Pardon my French, but I'm going to have to call bullshit on that one. Interesting enough, after this Israeli official came out and claimed of this federation of planets, all of a sudden we're having all these congressional hearings on UAPs. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. And let's not forget, some of those whistleblowers in front of Congress have claimed that the United States is not only in possession of crashed vehicles, but also human biologics.
Based on my direct knowledge, the government has recovered non-human biologics from crash.
Deception is here, folks. And again, now, today, there's just a ton of people that are calling themselves New Age channelers, and all of them have the same story. Again, they're in contact with these beings, and that these beings are here for our benefit. And all they need to do, correct our DNA. It sounds to me like these extra-dimensional beings or fallen angels got themselves a PR department. So why all of a sudden all these channelers are popping up everywhere claiming that these beings need to get a hold of our DNA in order to produce all these miraculous things? Think of it this way. If you go back and you look at Genesis 11, it talks about the Tower of Babel. Humanity tried to storm heaven and make a name for themselves. And for that reason, God confused all the languages. But today, their sinister plan is upgraded. And they're trying to convince us to build a new Tower of Babel. Not through brick or mortar, but through a communication bridge of technology, rituals, and genetic modification. So we'll try to answer a lot of these questions in the next videos. And again, there's a lot of conjecture to this. I'm just trying to line up the pieces and put them together. So in the next video, I'm going to try to see how a lot of these New Age channelers are trying to rebrand these so-called beings. Enter Ascended Masters. So in the next video, I'm going to try to see how a lot of these New Age channelers are trying to rebrand these so-called beings. Enter Ascended Masters. So in the next video, I'm going to try to see how a lot of these New Age channelers are trying to rebrand these so-called beings. Enter Ascended Masters. And then eventually, part 3, we'll try to see exactly what these beings are up to and how do they think that they are going to accomplish it. But they have one problem, and that's Jesus. Because he's not going to let this happen, guaranteed. So I hope to see you there in the next video, and be sure to like and subscribe, and remember, just keep your head on a swivel, keep in the Word, so that way you are not deceived. Take care.